cold sensitive neurons. So these both cold sensitive and heat sensitive neurons are temperature sensors for controlling the body temperature. So the heat sensitive neurons mainly increase the firing rate 2 to 10 fold in response to mainly 10 degrees increase in the body temperature, and the cold sensitive neurons are mainly increasing the fire rate when the body temperature falls. Of course, because this is cold sensitive, if the body temperature falls, they are activated. Of course, this is heat sensitive, so when body temperature increases by 10 degrees or 10 fold, then these are activated. So in the names it's like a simple process, you can just understand this process very easily. So now let's see the loss of heat by panting. This panting process is seen in lower animals. They have little ability to lose heat because their surface is mainly covered with fur. For example, you can take dogs, and the skin, they don't have sweat glands, they have sweat glands only in their paws, and the substitute is panting. So they pant so much so that because of this exchange of gases, now the coolingness is produced by them. So it is turned on by the thermoregulator center in the brain, and it gives messages to our respiratory system in lower animals so that they can easily pant and they can make their body cool. So when in humans the preoptic area is heated, the skin breaks out in profuse sweat. So the skin blood vessels get dilated to lose the heat, so the normal body temperature is achieved. So hypothalamic preoptic area is capable to serve the homeostatic body temperature control center. So temperature rise in skin, temperature regulation in skin, cold and warmth temperature receptors in skin are cold and warmth receptors, and also have deep tissue receptors. So the skin have cold receptors when compared with the warm receptors, because always we need to sense when a body is cold outside when compared with warm mostly. So the transient receptor potential family of cation channels in the somatosensory neurons and also epidermal cells mediate the thermal sensation over wide range of skin temperature. So deep body temperature receptors are mainly present in spinal cord, in abdominal viscera, in or around great veins, in upper abdomen, and also in thorax. So when these deep body temperature receptors are exposed to the body core temperature than the surface temperature, they also detect the cold when compared with heat. And the skin and deep body receptors are concerned to prevent the hypothermia, that is preventing the low body temperature. So the area of the area of hypothalamus that they stimulate is mainly located bilaterally in the posterior hypothalamus, which is approximately at the level of mammillary bodies. So even the temperature sensory signals from the anterior hypothalamus preoptic area, also transmitted to posterior hypothalamus to control the heat production and also heat conserving reactions of body. Now let us see the mechanism to reduce body heat when the temperature is very high outside. For example, you are in a very midsummer area and tropical area where it is having lot of heat outside. Then what happens? So first our blood vessels undergo the process of vasodilation due to the inhibition of sympathetic centers in the posterior hypothalamus. This causes the vasoconstriction. So full vasodilation sorry vasod Posterior hypothalamus cause vasoconstriction, and full vasodilation increase the rate of heat transfer to the skin as eightfolds. So sweating process takes place with the rate of evaporation by sweating when the body core temperature rises above the critical level of 37 degrees, that is 98.6 degrees. So additional 1 degree Celsius increase in body temperature cause sweating to remove the 10 times of basal rate of body heat production. So when there is decrease in heat production like shivering, chemical thermogenesis, all these processes should be strongly inhibited, because now these processes are not required. Now we need to lose the heat from the body. So vasodilation takes place, and lot of blood flow from our blood vessels, and lot of fluid come out in the form of sweat from our sweat glands. And next, let us see the mechanisms to increase the body heat when it is too cold outside. For example, you are going to some very snowy area like Arctic zone, Antarctic zone. Then what happens? Now let's see the situation. Here the vasoconstriction takes place because the blood vessels decrease, the blood flow decreases, so that it will be conserved, so that lot of heat is produced inside our body. So due to the posterior hypothalamus sympathetic centers, this process takes place, and piloerection takes place, hair standing on the end, mainly by sympathetic stimulation of erector pili muscle along with the hair follicles to contract. So increase in thermogenesis, that is increase in heat production by shivering, sympathetic excitation of heat production, thyroxine secretion, because thyroid hormone mainly increases lot of heat in our body. So hypostimulation of shivering, that is we need to decrease this shivering process. Hypostimulation in order In dorsomedial, yeah. In dorsomedial portion of posterior hypothalamus near the wall of third ventricle area, this is mainly called primary motor center for shivering. So here normally it is inhibited by signals from the heat center in a anterior hypopreoptic area, but excited by the cold signals from the skin and spinal cord. So it's activated when the body temperature is very low and transmit the signal, and this causes shivering mainly by the bilateral tracts of brainstem into the lateral column of spinal cord and finally to the anterior motor neurons. So these signals are non-rhythmical and they don't cause actual muscle shaking and instead increase the tone of the skeletal muscle. So throughout the body for facilitating the activity of anterior motor neurons, when the tone is increased above certain critical level, the shivering begins. So during the maximum shivering, the body heat production increases front of 5 times the normal. So this is how, because of shivering in a cold temperature, what happens is a lot of heat is restored in our body. So by sympathetic stimulation, whenever it is increased and increase in circulatory by norepinephrine and epinephrine, increase in cellular metabolism, it is called as chemical thermogenesis or non-shivering thermogenesis. So this is mainly uncoupling the process of oxidative phosphorylation, that is excess foodstuff is oxidized and it is releasing the energy in the form of heat but don't cause the ATP to form. So in this case you can understand, when you are in very cold place, if you are stuck there, then now the food which you have ate, it is most of it is converted into heat when compared with energy, because heat is now very necessary when compared with energy. So also increase in thyroxine output as a long term cause of increased heat production. It is cooling the anterior hypothalamic preoptic area, then it increases the production of neurosecretory hormone, that is mainly thyrotropin, it releasing hormone by hypothalamus. So this thyrotropin is carried by way of hypothalamic portal veins to the anterior pituitary gland, which stimulates the secretion of TSH. TSH means thyroid stimulating hormone. So so further this THS increases the output of thyroxine by thyroid, and this activates the uncoupling protein and increase the rate of cellular metabolism. So this is called as chemical thermogenesis. So this chemical thermogenesis, it is also called as non-shivering process. Without non-shivering process, the food which you are eating, it is converting into heat, and also by means of thyroid hormone, your thyroxine is increased, your TSH is increased, it is in turn increasing the metabolism and increasing lot of heat in your body. So the persons who see in your cold areas are mainly having lot of thyroid. So you can see animals which are exposed to cold mainly increase the thyroid side 20 to 40%. So increase the metabolic rate in Arctic and some of the Eskimos in the indigenous people of that areas in Arctic regions of Alaska, Canada, Greenland. Abnormally they have higher basal metabolic rate. So they also have some toxic thyroid goitis because this thyroid are abnormally increase in size in people of cold climates. Now let us see what is the set point for temperature control. So for normal core temperature is 37.1, that is 98.8 Fahrenheit. So above this rate of heat loss greater than that of heat production, means heat is lost then rather than heat production. So temperature of the body is a lot decreased and approach 37.1. Now we can understand this situation. Here heat is lost more when compared with production, so the same temperature of body is decreased and again finally it approaches 37.1. And the temperature below the core temperature, that is the rate of heat production, is increased than heat is lost. Now heat is increased more, so the body temperature again raised to 37.1. So this temperature level 37.1 is called the set point of temperature control system. It attempts to bring the body temperature back to the set point level. So when internal temperature increases, that is by stimulation of hypothalamus, it causes some psychic sensation of overheatedness. When too cold, it gives a feeling of cold discomfort. So adjustment is mainly done by our behavioral control of temperature, which is the most important step when compared with all others. That is the effective mechanism to maintain the body heat control or in cold environment. That is like behavior control means you can understand that it is more heat outside now, it is more cold outside now. If it is more cold outside, we need to know wear a double layered jackets or like that. And if it is more heat outside now, we need to understand that we need to go to a cooler room. So this is a behavioral control, and this behavioral control is more important when compared with all type of controls in our hypothalamus. Now let us see the foot on a hot lamp. So whenever you put a foot on a hot lamp, it leaves for the short time and the local vasodilation occurs and the mild local sweating occurs. And if you put a foot on a cold water, then the vasoconstriction occurs and the local localization of sweating takes place. So this mainly are caused by the local reflexes from the skin to the spinal cord and again back to the skin. So this is like a local control system. So the regulation of internal body temperature is mainly impaired by cutting a spinal cord. So by this you can understand the spinal cord maintains most of the body temperature. So in this case only the behavior temperature control can be done. So in this people, if the spinal cord is cut, now they need to only follow the behavioral processes. Like when it is more heat outside, then they need to be always in a air conditioner or very cool places, or whenever there is more cold outside, then they need to move to a heated places. So now let us see fever. Fever, how it is related with the temperature. So fever is nothing but where is temperature is increasing above the normal, mainly due to the abnormalities in the brain or sometimes toxic substances affecting the temperature regulation, or mainly by bacteria, virus, brain tumors, etc. And also sometimes environmental conditions which terminate in the heart stroke. So all these conditions may cause fever. So many proteins break down the products of proteins and other substances, and also we lipopolysaccharide toxins from bacteria cell membrane cause the set point of the hypothalamic thermostat to rise. You know what is the set point? That is 37.1. So if this set point rises, then this is caused mainly by pyrogens. That is pyrogens are from toxic bacteria from degenerating body tissue. So this mainly causes fever during the disease condition within few hours, and the set point is increased and the body temperature is increased. So if for example if the pyrogens are injected to our hypothalamus, then they can directly act upon our temperature regulatory center to increase the set point, and others acting directly and require the latency before causing effects. So you can understand pyrogens can easily affect the temperature regulation by directly acting on them. So when bacteria or breakdown products of bacteria in a tissue or in blood, so when they're phagocytosed by blood leukocytes, by tissue macrophages, by large granular killer lymphocytes, so all these digested bacteria release the cytokines, mainly peptides. These cytokines are peptide signaling molecules mainly involved in innate and adaptive immune responses. So if there is if So, among all them, the most important of the cytokines causing fever are interleukin 1. So, in this interleukin 1, it is also called as leukocyte pyrogen or endogenous pyrogen. So, this interleukin 1, which is released from the macrophages into the body fluids and after reaching the hypothalamus, mainly activates the process to produce the fever. So, this increases the temperature, that is mainly our set point temperature greater than its normal 37.1 within just only 8 to 10 minutes. So interleukin 1 mainly activates the prostaglandins E2, and they act upon the hypothalamus and cause the fever. So this prostaglandin E2 can be blocked by drugs which decreases the fever. Example aspirin. This stops the prostaglandin E2 from arachidonic acid. So this example is aspirin. These are antipyretics. So this is how they act. So this is how antipyretics target on prostaglandins E2. So in brain surgery around the hypothalamus, always the fever occurs or also sometimes hypothermia occurs. Both this potency of hypothalamus for the body temperature control and ease with the abnormalities of hypothalamus always alter the set point of temperature control. And the compression of hypothalamus mainly by brain tumors also cause increase in temperature, that is nothing but causing fever.